Hey guys, how's it going? I figured now would be a better time as any than to make an Intel, ticker symbol INTC, 10-minute trades update video. So I think the last time I made this video, you can see there's already some technical analysis on the chart here, probably over a month ago now. I haven't looked at Intel in quite some time, honestly. My long-time viewers know I am a big fan of AMD, which is pretty much the rival of Intel in terms of the CPU space. So I haven't really ever traded options or shares on Intel, but I know some of my viewers have, so let's just get right into it. You can see I have some technical analysis from my prior video, but I think we need to update this a little bit because I originally drew the Fibonacci levels from the recent peak back on June 5th to looks like the recent low on July 31st. I think that's a little bit outdated now, so let's delete this and see where a good level would be. So let's draw some updated Fibonacci retracement levels. I think I'm going to draw it from the base of the most recent low on July 31st, and I'll probably draw it to the peak here, the intraday peak on October 19th here. That's going to look something like this. Let's see what that looks like as far as areas of support and resistance. You know, I think it works out perfectly because take a look at this. This 38.2% Fibonacci retracement lines up perfectly to where I draw that area of support previously. So I'm really liking this right now. I think we'll stick with this for the time being. You can see I had a parallel channel here that I had drawn from about July, August, September, and as of October 7th to 8th, we've broken out of that parallel channel, which is a short-term bullish move. And it does look like this orange line, which is the 21-day moving average, and the pink line, which is the 50-day moving average. First of all, we had a crossover where the 21-day MA crossed over the 50-day MA right here on about September 29th. So that's a bullish move short term, and expectedly Intel basically rose. I mean, we went from on September 29th a price of around $51 to, as far as today, before the market closed, we were trading around $53. Now, if you can see, there's a dotted line here that says post, and that's because right now, or I should say a few hours ago, Intel just had their earnings. You can see the E right here, and they did not have good earnings. And as you can see by this dotted line, Intel after hours is trading at $48.75 at the time I'm making this video. The market closed on Intel at just a few pennies above $53. Actually, I should say a few pennies below $54. So just in after hours trading, we dropped about $6 because Intel did not have good earnings. And actually, interestingly enough, like I said, I like to play Intel, and so they're kind of opposites. So because Intel dropped by about $6, AMD went up by about $2 or $3 after hours. So things are not looking great for Intel. They are looking pretty good right now for AMD, but let's see what the future holds, or what I think the future holds for Intel, because tomorrow when the market opens, we're going to gap down. There's going to be a big gap from about $53 all the way down to somewhere probably around $48, $49. My prediction is that we'll open up tomorrow morning somewhere around this 78.6% Fibonacci level. We'll probably open just shy of $49 or maybe a few pennies over $49. That's my prediction. Now the problem though is, yes, it's a big gap down, which is obviously a bearish move, but my bigger concern is that we blew through two areas of support that I identified previously, and also the 21 and the 50-day moving averages. So that tells me that this area of support at about 51, just shy of $52, and this one here, just shy of $53, are now going to be areas of resistance. And we also, like I said, have the 78.6% Fibonacci level, which you can see, actually I should draw an area of trend right there as well, because you can see a bunch of candles from September, even all the way back in August. We're using that level just shy of $49 as support. So again, we are trading right below that. It'll be interesting to see, and that's another reason why I think we're going to open up probably somewhere a few pennies above $49. And I think for the next few trading days in the short term, $49 will probably be our area of support. Now, where the resistance level is, that's going to be, to be determined. I am looking right now actually at this 61.8% Fibonacci level, and that's because you can see a few candles and wicks back in September and August kind of topped out around that area. So we might be trading somewhere between $49 and $50 and some change. And as we go on to the next trading week, these moving averages are also going to start dipping down as well. So I think right now, my prediction is tomorrow will open up at about $49. A little over $50 will be resistance. And then I think the next area of resistance is probably going to be somewhere in the high 51s. I mean, I have this area of trend here. I could easily move this to be more in line with the 50% Fibonacci retracement level here, because you can see some of these candles here, this trend line is a little bit higher up. So I might want to just move this down somewhere like this, which is pretty much, for all intents and purposes, at the same area. So just to make it simple, I could do something just like this. So this is my current updated technical analysis on Intel. Now the other thing is, once we broke out of this kind of parallel channel that was sideways, I've noticed there's this trend line that was upward trending, right? Something looked a little bit like this. So you can see we drew it to the bottoms of a few of these candles, but actually, you could have said, could anyone have seen this coming? Maybe, because you can see the past 2 trading days, including today, we did break down below this trend line, right? They were green days, but they still broke down this upward trend. Now, if we didn't have earnings today, I probably would have told you, you know what, we might have a little bit of a pullback, probably down to like $52, because that's where this area of support is. That's also pretty much right where this 21-day moving average is. So I would have probably told you, yeah, we might have a little bit of a red day pullback and then keep going, something like that. But unfortunately, today was earnings. So I think that's what kind of did it in for Intel for the short term. So I am definitely short-term bearish on Intel, because they basically dug themselves into a hole right now that they're going to have to climb out of. So we're going to open somewhere around here. I don't think we're going to go any lower. I mean, if I zoom out here, Intel wasn't this low, and I'm talking in the mid to low 40s until peak illness levels. So I don't think there's any reason for Intel to go even lower. I mean, the most recent low intraday actually was on July 31st, and that was at just about $47. So personally, if you were gonna, let's say, do the wheel strategy on Intel, I would sell puts at something like $46.50 or $46, or even $47 if you want to be a little bit aggressive, because I don't think we're gonna test those lows until some just really bad news comes out in the market overall that causes the entire market to sell off. But looking for the past few months of data, Intel, I mean, that day, it didn't even close at 47. It closed at just shy of $48. So that is where I would want to sell cash ticket puts if I decided to start the wheel strategy on Intel. Again, that's not financial advice, and I'm not looking to do that, but I'm just throwing it out there. The other thought that crossed my mind was, I wonder if now, if you were bullish on Intel for more of the midterm or a long-term hold, actually, I would probably say more long-term than midterm. I wonder if now would be a good time to open up a poor man's covered call on Intel. Because to open up a poor man's covered call, and just as an aside, if you don't know what a poor man's covered call is, check out my YouTube channel. It's actually one of the most popular videos that I have right now. It's called Poor Man's Covered Calls for Beginners. So be sure to check that out if you don't know what I'm talking about. But the reason I say it might be a good time to open up a PMCC is because the thing you have to do with a poor man's covered call is you have to buy a call that's in the money for a long time out. So you buy a leap. And because we had a huge red day, or we will have a huge red day once the market opens tomorrow morning, the calls on Intel are probably going to be dirt cheap. So you could probably buy an in-the-money call for really cheap right now on Intel. And then, like I said, as long as you're bullish on it over the mid to long term, just keep selling covered calls against that call that you bought. And that's basically the crux of what a poor man's covered call is. A poor man's covered call basically lets you sell covered calls without actually owning 100 shares of stock. It's also called a synthetic covered call because instead of owning 100 shares of stock, you own that, or you bought that in the money call for months or a year out. So again, not financial advice, I'm just throwing that out there. That thought did occur to me that, calls are going to be really cheap right now on Intel. So maybe it would be a nice opportunity to do a poor man's covered call. And that's something that I would consider. My only problem is personally, I am not bullish on Intel long term. I'm bullish on AMD long term. And I think the higher AMD goes, the lower Intel goes. And that's just my opinion. I understand that Intel has more business ventures than just CPUs. But, you know, if I look at this chart and I zoom out here, you can see even before the illness, Intel was very choppy, right? This is just not a graph that I like to see. I want to see a graph. Show me a stock chart that's like this, just straight up and to the right, and I will gladly run the wheel on that stock. I would gladly sell or do the poor man's covered call on that stock. But there's too much volatility, there's too much choppiness in Intel for me to feel comfortable. I'm a little bit more of a conservative trader, so Intel is just not for me. But if you have shares or if you want to trade options on Intel, or like I said, if you are bullish on Intel, you know, maybe I'm wrong and that's perfectly fine. Intel is just not the stock for me. AMD is more my jam, but you know, whatever floats your boat. So let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with my technical analysis. Let me know if you own shares of Intel or if you were having options. Hopefully you made money off this downturn. I mean, if you bought puts on Intel, you're probably making out like a bandit right now, to be honest with you. But that's my 10-minute trade video on Intel. As always, if you have any questions or comments, leave them below, and happy trading.